We're going to get started. Tonight we have, I appreciate very much your attendance. It looks like we got a good crowd, and I hope that you learn a lot about what we have been doing almost over the past year, working out to a program where we could finally present the membership with something to vote on that has to do with what we consider sustainability. We have, honestly, a sustainability issue. So I put from the dictionary, sustainability, the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. There are many concerns about the future of Boca Grove in regards to the pricing that it costs to live here. We're going to address some of those issues today. I would ask all of you to please wait until I finish. I have about 20 minutes worth of stuff that I think will help clarify the consent form that you have and the problem that we have as a club and community going forward. After that, my anticipation is that we will probably have more Q&A than 20 minutes. Anybody that has to leave can leave. We ask if you get the microphone. We're going to pass this microphone around to everybody. We ask that if you get it, that you don't hold it and run away with it, okay? Please limit your remarks to a question and try to keep it to 3 minutes or so, and that would be in respect to everybody else in the room. So we're going to talk a little bit about sustainability and what that means to us. I have a graph in front of us that shows the challenges that we have in the future. Today, this may not be a problem to everybody, but if we let this go and we do not react strategically, this will be a major problem for us. The top line is the red line. That represents golf memberships. For many years, we had a cap of 300 golf memberships. A few years ago, we added non-resident golf memberships. We currently have a cap of 350 golf memberships. And we've always had more golf members than social members. The green line represents social members. The trend over the last 5 years is that we lose 8 to 9 golf memberships, which creates a major expense to the golf membership side. Means that expense is continuing to escalate. We believe that if we continue with the same trend, that in 2024, the axes will meet and we will become non-sustainable. That means we will not be able to sell golf memberships at the price that we believe it's going to cost. I'm going to walk you through that. Currently, as I said, we're losing 8 to 9 golf members annually. This is causing a dues increase of 8.3%. We made a lot of assumptions today. Some are real, some are assumptions. Currently, we have 253 resident equity golf members. 253. For the last 5 years, that's gone down by 8 or 9 each year. Okay? We assumed that we would have a 4% increase to dues on an annual basis for both golf members and social members. The additional 4.3% comes from the decline of the number. See, I'm going to show you the math tonight and how we calculate dues. That's what this amendment change is all about. So I'm going to show you how that works. But the 4.3% is coming from the reduction in golf members. At this rate, the increase of the cost of what it's going to be a golf member at Boca Grove is going to exceed all of our competition and is going to take us out of the golf market. That, in my mind, is the most dangerous thing that could ever happen to this club. I'm going to show you why. If the golf program collapses, the club will do the same. It is a critical problem that we have to address, that for those members that have been here for many years have been talking about forever. You know, maybe 15 years ago they started talking about one membership. We're going to talk about one membership today, and we did a lot of work on one membership, but we felt that this was the appropriate solution to our problem. Without a golf course, home values will certainly be affected, and costs to maintain the land where the course once was will be a huge social expense and raise social dues. Let's talk about how it works. Currently, if the trend continues, the blue line is golf dues, and the red line is social dues. Remember that every member here is a social member. 253 of you are golf members. As we continue over the next few years and golf membership goes down, the disparity between the cost of social and golf continues to widen. That is a critical problem for the future of our club. We've got to figure out a way that we can keep that more solidified so that we can openly sell golf memberships. If you take a look on the right-hand side, 2019 fees are up there at $20,626 with a social number of $12,998, I think it looks like. If we continue to escalate with this trend, our dues will go up to $27,000 in 224 and a social dues of $15,800. That separates us again by $12,000. See, that's not happening. As we look at the rest of the clubs, we find that typically there's a separation between social and golf that's somewhere around $8,000. That's where we're getting an $8,000 number that you may have seen in some of your paperwork. So let's explain further. We believe that golf is not dead. We believe that the amenity of the golf course here is the most important aspect of this club. Not everybody believes that. I believe that. The golf course is very, very important to us. We have got to be able to sell golf memberships for our community to be successful going forward. We need to stabilize golf dues to reduce the fears of prospective golf members of unrealistic dues increases. The people that come here, there's realtors and brokers in the room, the people that come here want to know what the fees are going to be in the future, what's going to happen to golf. If we share the trends, we're in trouble. So we really need to do something. We looked, as I mentioned before, we looked at the one membership. We had the ad hoc membership committee headed up by Alan Utensky. They did a great job. They presented the board with things we voted on. We decided that the one membership program didn't work the way we wanted it to work. One, it increased everybody's dues, social and golf, and it almost put our social program out of feasibility, meaning that social became so expensive that it was much more expensive than all the other clubs. We didn't think that was the right thing to do. We also felt that that would slow down the real estate market at a time when we don't need that. Currently we have 56 homes for sale. The last thing we need to do is to make a decision for slowing down the real estate process. We also didn't think that you would pass that. So we pulled it off the table and we went back to the drawing board. What we're proposing, and is part of what you are going to evaluate on your consent form, is a program to cap the differential between social and golf dues, which would stabilize golf dues and not have a negative impact on home sales. The graph kind of looks like this. As you can see, the difference from the other graph was a huge disparity as we got down into the future between social, and golf. The top line, the yellow line is the golf membership, and the blue line is the social membership. We anticipate with the numbers on the right-hand side that if we continue to stay with the assumptions that we have, meaning the trends that are happening today, and golf membership continues to decline, the impact on the social member will be about 1.9% a year. Remember that we said on the average, we have a 4% increase. The 5.9 is 4% plus 1.9. Let me show you how that works. So, we're proposing golf members would pay on an annual basis $8,000 in golf dues in addition to their social dues. In 2020, because currently the golf dues are $76.30. In 2020, there'd be very little impact. Starting in 2020, if golf membership continues to decline, social dues will be about $400 more per year. Okay, $400 more per year. That's the 1.9%. One of the benefits that we're going to offer with this program that's part of the amendment change is that we're going to create social opportunity to use the golf facilities. Social members will be able to use the golf facility 6 times in the season and 12 times in the off-season. At those times when they're using the facilities, they will have the same privileges as golf members. Their golf dues and golf fees would be prepaid via the dues, and they would be able to bring guests. This will create sustainability of the golf program and will improve our program. I'm going to have to ask until you wait. We can go back all the way, okay? Because if we start asking questions, then everybody's going to start asking questions. I'm sorry, Doctor. Increased understanding and simplification of our dues calculation is what I'm going to show you next, and it's amazing what will happen as we continue to move down the line. So let's talk about how we calculate dues today. Some of you may know this and some of you may not. We start, these numbers here are the 2019 budgeted numbers for the club. So we didn't just fabricate these numbers are real. This is our 2019 budget. On the top, where it says club operating expenses, our total is $7,900,000. Today, what we do to calculate is we take golf and we put it on one side, and we put social on the other side. So on the left-hand side, social expenses come up to $5,700,000. And golf expenses on the right come up to $2,200,000. In the middle, we credit to that the non-resident dues program. The non-resident program this year, budgeted in 2019, is $640,000. We budgeted with the expectation level of having 40 non-resident members. Currently, we have 43. On the left-hand side, we take $8,370 from each non-resident member, and we credit the social expenses on the social side. On the right side, we credit $305,000, which is $7,630, the same amount that a golf member pays. We credit that times 40, comes to $305,000. As we get to the next step, we make that adjustment, and then we divide it by how many active members we have. On the left-hand side, currently we're using the number 413. We'll talk about that number later. Remember that we have 444 members. This year, we divided it by 413 active members, and we came up with a dues number of $12,998. On the right side, we took the adjusted golf expenses with the credit from non-resident golf, and we divided it by how many active golf members that we have, 253, and it came to 7,630. That is the dues calculation for Boca Grove. This is how we do it. This is how we do it every year. And we believe it's time to make a change in that. The problem with this math is that when 253 goes to 250, goes to 248, goes to 245, that dues number jumps up tremendously. It puts us out of the sellable market. We will not be able to compete in 5 years down the road. We should not wait until 5 years to make critical decisions on how we solve this problem. This is what we're recommending. This is what we're asking you to evaluate your consent form and to vote on. It's an $8,000 number for annual add-on golf, okay, to all golf members. This is how we would do the math differently than how we did the math previously. One, we'll explain this later, we're going to get rid of social expenses and golf expenses. We're going to call them club operating expenses. Very different. In all the bylaws we find, it says social operating expenses and golf operating expenses. We're going to delete all that. When you read this consent form, you'll see that we deleted it all. It's crossed. It's crossed with a line. We take our total operating club expenses, $7,900,000, similar to what it was previous. We then credit the $640,000 from all the non-resident golf members. We then credit $8,000 times our 253 golf members, $2,024,000. We come up with an adjusted operating expense of $5,274,000, and we divide it by 413. We come up with that dues number. Now you can see this year, 2019, the dues number is very close, and we anticipate it staying close. This is kind of the worst scenario. If golf membership continues to decline, social membership is going to have to pick it up, what we think is about 1.9%. If golf membership grows, social membership goes down. If that 413 becomes 430, huge home run for us. Big deal. That's probably the ultimate goal that we have at the club, is to change the amount of non-paying members that we have. So that's a huge plus. So there's very positive things that could happen with this lock of the $8,000. So the consent form is a legal document written by lawyers that I struggle to understand. Okay, I read it and read it and read it. It is difficult to get through as you get ready to make your vote. I want to try to simplify it. It's just going to take a couple of minutes so that you understand what it really says and what we're trying to get across, so that you can make a vote that you think will help the club. So again, the whole thing that we're talking about is social expenses, golf expenses. They're getting crossed out. We're changing that. We're changing the method of calculating our dues, and we're going to a more simplified program that is an all-in program that when members that are coming to look at property, they say, how much are golf dues additional? We say $8,000. How much are they going to be next year? $8,000. Where are they going to go? $8,000. Remember that every one of us is a social member. You know, so the share on the backside will be picked up if we continue to drop, but we won't have a problem with selling homes. See, if we have a problem selling homes, which we have lately because golf membership goes down by 8 or 9 a year, if we have trouble with that, we're really going to be in trouble. We're going to have problems. So this is a real thing. So let's talk about this. Here's a perfect example of what you don't really want to read, but you have it. It's in your paperwork. You have it there. You know, you can see all operating expenses. You can see social members. You can see social operating and golf operating expenses. What this really means, this gets us, that amendment 30, gets us to eliminate social operating expenses and golf operating expenses and makes all those expenses into club operating expenses. It is that simple. That is what all that is. There's a lot of stuff crossed out. It's very difficult to get through, but this is what it's saying. The next article is Article 3, and it talks about the non-resident equity golf member. Now, those people that have been here for a long time understand that many years ago we had non-resident equity golf members. Oak Grove does not have any non-resident equity golf members anymore, and we haven't sold this since 1994. So anywhere in the documents that we have stricken this from the documents and got rid of the phrase non-resident equity golf members. Because in all the places, it used that as a divisible on how to get to dues. So when we crossed it out once, we had to cross it out all through the documents. So that's what this is doing. As we said, it eliminates the non-resident equity golf members. Hasn't been used since 1994. This is creating a simplification of dues by creating the classification of club operating expenses. That's what that whole page does. It also signifies that the primary user is the club member, and that all revenues collected by the club, including 100% of the non-resident golf dues, are used to reduce the club operating expenses. Remember, we got rid of social, we got rid of golf. It's just club operating expenses as a whole. Article 9, once again, talks about the non-resident equity member. Then this is Article 9 is part of where we say, on the bottom you can see we crossed out all the stuff that said social members get nothing. They can't play, they can't do this, they can't use the range. On the top part it talks about that they can use the facility, the golf facility, 6 times during the season and 12 times during the off season. So this is what it says. Social members get access to the golf facilities 6 times in the season, 12 times out of season. Social members will enjoy golf privileges, prepaid greens fees, regular guest fees, cart fees only if you use a club card. Very similar to the golf member. So this is an added attraction that once again could help us build the opportunity to get members that are social to become golf members. So there is promise in that program. This part of the document, Article 9, social members, resident golfers, this talks about initiation fees, and it talks about non-refundability. None of the stuff we're doing affects our current membership, okay? The things we're doing in regards to non-refundability doesn't affect your membership, it only affects the new members that are coming in. So this is what that document says. It says from time to time, the non-refundable fee can be modified by the Board of Directors. Current refund structure stays intact. This allows the club to react to economic conditions and also allows the club to develop respective marketing plans based on the economy and what's happening with the real estate market. Non-resident equity golf. So this is Article 9, A12, hereby amended. It talks about non-resident equity golf memberships. Has not been offered. It goes through the same process. It gets rid of a whole bunch of those things that we've already talked about. This goes on to determining from time to time that they can, the board has options to do the non-refundable or the refundable, whatever that refundability is. So at the end of the day, it all gets back to this. That other line is getting rid of operating, getting rid of social, getting rid of golf operating. So it all continues to come back to this new way of calculating our dues on an annual basis. Article 14, social membership dues, club operating expenses. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The consent form repeats itself because the way the bylaws were written, that's the way it's set up. It goes right back to the same process. As we're getting close to the end, this is the part of the amendment where we say that each resident golf member shall pay $8,000 per year. And then it gets rid of a lot of stuff that, interesting, our bylaws are very old and very antiquated and difficult. And our attorney said this stuff doesn't hold water anymore. So they said we should clean it up. So this is the official amendment that creates the $8,000 fee, stabilized golf dues, and keeps us competitive in the market. This is more antiquation, I believe, from things that just talk about the different membership categories. Takes out non-resident equity again. Unnecessary legalese that do not affect the club. That's what our attorneys told us. And it comes to a consent form. The consent form is important. You check the box, consent or not. You write in the date, the month, fill in your address, you sign it, you print your name, return it to Kathy or myself or the administrative office, and you're done. We have consent forms. You can vote tonight if you like. Kathy and her team are going to be over there. We ask you to really consider this program, especially for those members that are getting ready to leave for the summer. Our ultimate goal as a club and community, we want to sell homes and bring new members to lower the percentage of non-paying units that actually subsidizes dues. That is probably, I'm going to get to you right now, Doc. That is probably the most important thing we can do. We have to be sellable. We have to make sure that we don't take a backseat. We have so many things happening. Great amenities, the golf course, the new wellness center, wonderful things, the new clubhouse, wonderful things happening that create energy within our community. This is the last thing. It's very important that we can stabilize our program and so that we can move forward. So, Doc, I'm going to take 1 second because I had 1 second for Alan. Where is he? Alan, I was hoping that you could just make a comment. You put the team together of the one membership committee that had one agenda at the beginning, and then we asked you to do something else, and you helped us tremendously, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Let me just explain to you our committee. Our committee was made up of 9 people, 5 of whom were golf members and 4 were social members. Our task was to, as Michael said, to figure out what we could do to make sure that the golf course stays in its pristine condition. And we recognized, the social members and the golf members, that the golf course affects all of us, social or golf members. It's what you see when you go down Bowlby Grove Boulevard. It's what you see in a lot of our houses when we look outside. It's what you see when you're on the veranda of the clubhouse. So all of us as a committee felt that keeping the golf course in this pristine condition that it's in now was critical to all of us. And at our first deliberation, we recommended to the board of directors that we go to a 1 membership club. And the vote on that was 8 of us voted yes, 1 voted no. My understanding is that the board had 7 people voting yes and 2 people voting no. The 3 people that voted no were all social members. Their reason for voting no was the belief that a 1 membership would be disastrous as far as decreasing the value of homes or in causing people to want to come to Bowlby Grove. So the board decided, after some focus groups were heard, that it would not make sense to even go to a vote for one membership, because as most of you know, or a lot of you know, that under our documents, you would need 2/3 of the entire membership to approve such a resolution, and we didn't believe that we would be successful in getting the vote. So we went back to the drawing table, and we came up with the proposal that Michael has so ably presented to us today. What was interesting was the one member of our committee and the 2 members of the board. All three of them said, we believe that it's important that the social members support the golf course. When the focus groups met, many of you said, we are against the one membership for whatever the reason, but we do believe that it's important as social members that we support the golf course, and we're willing to contribute towards that end. So that when we went to the new vote, the one member on the social committee and the 2 members on the board of directors enthusiastically supported this proposal. And hopefully, all of you here today will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kaplan will open this up for questions.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, you didn't mention anything about capital.
Okay.
So what happens, there was an assessment recently to fix some drainage. What would happen under those circumstances?
So currently we separate our capital programs between social, POA, and golf. Those would remain the same. We opted not to change the capital program for assessments, major assessments on the golf course. Okay? If that were the case tomorrow, when we had to renovate the golf course, we would split that fee by 253.
Okay, so you just use the,
It could be disastrous, but
you just use the highlight of major assessments. Are there other kinds of assessments?
well, not really. There's a general capital fund that we create every year to continue to upgrade some of the things that we consider replacement, when we look at return on investment, on what we possibly would bring in that would help the club generate revenue. So on an annual basis, the Finance Committee recommends, after presentation from our CFO and myself, and from all of our department heads that put together a capital budget that are currently working on a 5-year capital plan. We recommend that to the Finance Committee. They review, they say yes or no based on what it is, and then they present it to the board, and then the board approves it. We recently approved that, not that long ago, I think last month.
You also have 2 very good slides where you showed how things were trending. Okay? You don't happen to have a slide that combines the 2. That would really, I was trying to do it in my mind from memory.
Yeah. Do we still have it? Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny that you said that, because we had that originally and it looked confusing, and we didn't want to confuse people, so we do not have that slide, correct?
Yeah, those are the 2 I'm talking
It
not the
is.
one where they crisscross, but
Yeah, so the other one comes in the middle where they both stay.
between the boundaries of the outline.
Yeah, they come in the center, they come directly across, so it's a pretty interesting slide.
Okay, and so what I was trying to ascertain, but it doesn't seem like it's going to make a difference if it's really $400. If our social dues would be jacked up so much that now the social dues look out of sync with other community social dues. But at $400, I don't think that can happen. It's more than 400?
No, if it's 1.9%, it's 400 estimate, right, Ron? You worked in those numbers, right?
Right, it's an estimate of $400 a year, yes, you're right, for a 10-year period, dues over, instead of a 4% increase, the dues would be $3,800 more at the end of 10 years.
Right. So it's 400 on top of 400 on top of 400. Now that's based on the assumptions that we have. There's a lot of positive things that are happening within the community. interesting. We talked about the 413. We have 444 units. We only are keeping track of 413, collecting for 413. 14 of those unperforming right now. 5 units that we have that the POA owns in Les Jardins, and 9 builders. So the stimulation of the builder program is going to help us in the coming future. We also had one other thing that just recently happened that you may have seen, is that we settled a major suit with Fannie Mae, which we were able to recover monies and to make sure that they went forward as active dues-paying members for 6 units. Currently, they have notified us that they have 5 contracts on those units. We do not have that information yet. They did not have to provide it. But I'm certain that any day now, somebody's going to show up on our doorstep saying, how do I become a member? How do I pay? Or how do I get into the builder program? So those are other renovations that will happen. So that number could go 413, it could go up to 425, then it could come back and forth, so it moves a little.
But there are a lot of moving parts, and if we hold some of them constant, and we were just going to look at this, if I understand it properly, it could go up $400 each year,
That's correct.
okay?
Based
So
on,
in 10 years, with no other things changing, expenses not changing, nothing else, the social dues would be $4,000 higher. Could be $4,000 higher.
yeah, $38,000.
Plus inflation, plus all the other things.
Absolutely, that's correct. Yes. So we're going to try to pick this and be fair, because I think you had the next question, Scott. So it is difficult to randomly select. I'll do my best.
I just have a question. Why did you pick a stagnant number?
Can't hear you back here.
$8,000, rather than taking a percentage of the operating expenses and the golf expenses? Because inflation and everything is considered, $8,000 is really setting it too rigidly. Did you look at the percentage?
Sure. We looked at a number of different things. We also talked to a number of clubs, and we tried to find a disparity in the other clubs on the difference between social and golf. There are a number of clubs that have multi-membership, some have a middle tier, some have a lower tier. There's a bunch of different ones. But what we found was this is a similar program, not the program they operate, but the number is pretty close.
Currently, do they alter that number, or is it just that one block number?
I think they do a lot of math similar to what we do currently, and what we wanted to do was change that math program. We understand that every single member here is a social member. So if the increase goes up, that means and the number of golf members goes down. It means that the social members plus the golf members are sharing in the expense. So that's where we think we come with equality and a more fair program that actually creates sustainability. Now that is the important aspect. Okay. We're going to go to
Hi. Suppose the earth tilts and suddenly everybody wants to play golf. And we suddenly have 325 golf. If you went through the calculation the way we presently spread the cost, you would end up with less golf dues than you will at $8,000. Shouldn't we have something built into this in the event something like that should miraculously happen?
You want to put a wager on that? What are the odds? But just in case, remember that everybody is a social member. If that were to happen, social membership would decrease dramatically and homes would sell. And I don't think the rest of the Boca and all the clubs that we're competing against are going to dramatically drop their golf fees over the next couple of years. I don't know about us, but I know they're not gonna do that. So the ability for us to increase golf membership and decrease social membership and sell homes is what we're all talking about. And we can all help each other by trying to sell golf. We're going to, as a club, we're going to sell golf. We're going to push golf, we're going to market golf, we're going to do the stay and plays, get people to come and check it out. We believe that is our top amenity. And we believe that golf still sells.
One other thing, I noticed that somewhere in this, you indicated that the revenue for a non-resident member was $16,000.
Yeah, that's 16,000 plus is, you know, they pay 17,750,
They
is that
pay
what
over
they pay?
18,000, but 16 of that is dues, then they pay 1,500 in the service charge, they pay the 270 valet fee, they pay a $600 golf facility fee, they pay a $150 range fee, but the dues is 16,
Yes.
and that's what gets allocated.
And that's how we have that, yes. Who's next?
Michael, you indicated that if there was an assessment tomorrow regarding the golf course, so-called golf members would pay for it.
Right.
Under the new program where everybody is basically a member, what would happen?
Currently, we did not change the capital program and how we allocate the capital monies. If we had to renovate the golf course tomorrow, it would be an assessment to the golf members. It would not be an assessment to the overall membership. We did not believe that we could have a successful week. One, the board believes this is a critical, important issue for us to move forward. We don't want to get it caught up in future assessments of the golf course to not be able to get the vote. We want to get this vote. This is critically important. It helps stabilize our community and our golf membership program and will help sell houses. We don't have anything right now that's up on the horizon as far as renovation of golf course. We did a $500,000 renovation last year. The bunkers are in beautiful condition. The golf course is in beautiful condition. We're doing many things in the golf course area and around the rest of the property that is considered normal capital budgeting, that is approved on an annual basis by the board and the finance committee. We'll continue to do that way, okay? But for major golf expenses right now, we have not changed the bylaws to do that. So if we were going to do that, we would have to change the bylaws again. At this juncture, we decided not to. Get right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions and comments. Number one thing which isn't discussed is that we're already the highest social cost club in the small group section already, to which we're adding $400 the first year, $800 the second, $1,200 the third, $1,600 the second. 4% compounded rate, where 60% of our new market comes when we're already the highest cost club. Second comment I'd like to talk to you about is that you're right, it is all about the divisor. 15 years ago, we had 290 golf members, and there was always concern about what would happen if we got to 260. Well, we got to 260, we got to 250. But what is significant is we've added 40 outside members. And if we use that as a divisor, so right back where we started 15 years ago, you still have 290 members. I say that because there is no statement in here about a commitment to grow outside members or to maintain outside members. There are no stops or there are any resets in any of these numbers. It's theoretically possible that if you went down to 100 golf members and you paid $8,000, you'd have $800,000, which is like some of your worst-case scenarios. And what it is the social members will be picking up the balance of 2.2 million plus the 4% escalation each year. So in theory, virtually the vast majority of the golf course could be absorbed by the social members because there are no stops or resets in this formula.
Okay, let me address that, and you make points. We can spend all day trying to figure out, similar to Arnie's proposal, that if golf membership goes up by 100, what's that going to do? If golf membership goes down by 100, what's that going to do? We don't believe, seriously, we are a premier golf club that has gotten better over the last year. I can tell you that it's continued to get better, and I think we're putting ourselves in a very good position for the future. I can never imagine that we will get to 100 golf members. That is very difficult.
You're
So-
pursuing both sides of the edge.
Right,
You've got the draconian scenario on the way down, but you don't believe it's true. Is that what you're saying?
No, I believe that in order to protect ourselves, that everybody's going to pay a certain bit for the pie. They really have to. It's really important. In case we get to a point that we have trouble, you're 100% correct that the non-resident members at $640,000 is helping us. But we're a private club. Do we really want to increase? The only reason we have non-resident members is because we have to. And it doesn't make everybody in this room happy, I can tell you that. We are a private, exclusive golf club that we would like to continue to be a private, exclusive golf club. That said, the non-resident members are great people. Who knows how many we're going to have next year? It's a volatile situation. You know, what we have to focus on is how we can sell homes and compete with the rest of the market. We believe social and golf is very competitive with the fee structure in the rest of the market. Our HOA fees are extremely high, but when we look at all the clubs and what they pay, it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
I was on record to you in November.
Except for Boca West.
We're the highest cost social club in fees. We are, presently, before we do this.
Scott?
Yeah, just one last thing. I do agree with Bob. One of the things he just said is there are no bump stops. When we sign this, we are giving the club a blank check. And maybe there comes a point, that's why you put bump stops in, where you have to accept the fact that it's time to fold the debt. That's a hard thing to swallow. But
We're paying $10,000 for $12,000.
I'd like
We're paying $10,000 for $12,000.
If you went down to 100 members that were golf members, then you would have 2/3 of the membership that are non-golf members, and they'll look to change the documents again. So you don't have any problem.
Jim Sefili.
Okay. I was one of the board members that Alan referred to. Was not in favor of one-class membership. I'm totally behind this particular program. I've already signed my consent form, signed it earlier today. Boca Grove's always been behind the curve.
speak into the mic.
Boca Grove's always been behind the curve. We were behind the curve with the builder program. We were one of the last clubs to do that. We were behind the curve on non-resident members. We got way behind on that. We were the last one to come to the party. Wellness Center, same thing. We're probably the last club that has redone their wellness center. This gives us one thing that maybe puts us ahead of the curve, because as time goes on, as Mr. Gibson said, the other clubs are going to be charging more and more and more, and they're going to have to come up with a way to keep their golf dues intact. And this gives us something that we can do at a time. So I'd urge all of you to go ahead and vote for this program. I think the way to keep us in line and ahead of the game, in fact.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so if I could just follow up where Jim left off, I was the other board member. And I think all of you know that I was pretty vocal
when it came to my opposition, umbrellas were coming out and people were trying to keep me quiet. But I tried to explain at that time that I was not opposed to strict one membership, either because it helped the golf member or hurt the social member. It hurt the club. And I was very impressed over those forums with a number of people who stood up and said, we are one community. We're not golf members, we're not social members. We need to come up with a solution that helps the entire club. I think this does that. I don't think the one membership did it because, as Michael aptly pointed out, it made us non-competitive from day one for outside social members. Day one. And we couldn't live with that because 2/3 or thereabouts of the homes that were being sold to social members. We just couldn't become competitive. And I would point out, while we are on the high end, as has been pointed out, of fees, we will be lower than a lot of our competition, which are one-member clubs. For example, to shift the conversation, Beaucaire and Del Air, which are one-member clubs, to non-golfers, we will be significantly less expensive to those potential buyers. And that's important. In terms of an onrush of golf members coming in here, we should all work towards that happening. And that will assist everybody. I mean, just think about the calculation. If that $8,000 per person goes from 253 members to 325 members, not going to happen, but if it were to happen, we could do a number of things. We could consider eliminating the non-resident golf program. Certainly when we get to the bottom line, we're going to have a lot less money. We might actually have surpluses. All those things might happen. What this does, another thing that I was impressed with, last point, during the course of the focus group discussions, was a few people who got up, golf members, and made points that while they were golf members, didn't play tennis, they were always in favor of improvements to the tennis program. I think this is a time for the social members, including myself, to stand up and say, we'll stand as a safety net. It's not going to cost all that much money in terms of what we already pay and what we have been paying. And if we can go from 413 performing members to 425 or 430, plus maybe making some inroads into the golf membership program, it may not affect us at all. But I do think it's time for us to stand there as a safety net to the club and to betterment of the club for everybody.
Next slide. I'm looking for the slide after the program's in effect. Match that graphic there. As I read that, the current social dues are around $12,000. In 10 years, they become $24,000.
Yeah, right now there's a spread of $7,600 differential.
Now, I'm trying to reconcile your $400 a year with $12,000 over 10 years.
I'm gonna need to have somebody.
$400 extra.
Okay, hold on, here's Ron.
So the assumptions in this whole thing is a 4% annual increase in cost. So the social dues are going up 4% a year no matter what in this scenario, because we wanted to be realistic, conservative, and what's going to really happen. And we kind of looked at this as worst case scenario. So you're going up 4%, so the increase is only 1.9%. In 2020, the differential, if everything happens and we lose another 9, it's $138. The next year it's 500 something, next year it's 900, the next year it's 1,300. So,
all right, I want to belabor the point, but I see the social dues under the new program, 2019, it shows $12,998.
right.
10 years later, it shows $23,077.
Correct. So you're at 13 and you're at 19. So the difference between the new program is the 19 minus the 23, $4,000, $3,800. That's what you're looking at because of this program going into effect, stabilize and fund.
So basically, what you're saying though, if somebody else another club was currently at $13,000 a year, and they were going up 10% a year, those members would be paying about $19,000 to $20,000 a year for social.
Correct.
And we will be charging $23,000 for social.
We think this is worst case scenario. We believe that our marketing and the efforts here and the changes just in the trends in golf, there's an up and down movement in golf, that we believe that we won't be at that point. So right now, the 8,000 kicks in with golf membership being right around 243, 244. Anything below that, the social has to kick in. Anything above that, both the golf member and the social member benefits by reduced social dues. So that gives the social member incentive to help us, increase golf membership also.
Our ultimate goal is to make sure we're viable and that we continue to be a premier golf facility and we continue to sell golf memberships. That is really important for the overall structure of the club.
Could you talk about
The mic system is terrible.
There you go.
Okay. The improvement in access for social members to the golf course, what was it, 6 and 12?
Sure, 6
What was
and
the
12.
discussion around that? Could it be sweeter, friendly, to make it more attractive to the social members?
Well, once you're a golf member, you're always a golf member, and we want to make sure that the social program that we create is not lucrative enough to keep a golf member from joining golf. Because if you're a golfer, you're going to want to be a golf member. If you would like to have access to the golf course, have your family play at certain times, have a little bit more freedom, have the availability to work on your game a little bit, then that social program is going to work much better than the current social program that you have. But if we make it too sweet, there's going to be a little confusion. Especially somebody that was coming in that was older that is trying to count how many years he's going to be a golf member beyond the golf course. So, and I think a lot of clubs have gone through this process. I myself have gone through a similar process at other clubs where we had to create a different program, and we wanted to make sure it was nice, but it wasn't so nice that people wanted to steer in that direction. Initiation fees. So we, the club board is currently working on initiation fees. We've done some research with other clubs that have played around with their initiation fees, for lack of a better terms. The club board is meeting to discuss that further and has not fully made a decision on initiation fees. I will tell you that you all know this, that our market is extremely low right now in values. It is a time that I'm not sure if a $10,000 reduction in initiation fees is going to drive a bunch of people here to make a decision. That's not my decision, that's the board's decision, and they're evaluating it. The one thing that this amendment does is it gives the right for the board to change the refundability process on whatever that fee is. Any other questions? Richard Bush.
I just want to add one thing. People have talked about the cost of a social membership and comparing it to other clubs. Our social membership here was everything but golf. A social membership in Polo or Boca West or any of the larger clubs doesn't include tennis, doesn't include anything. Now we really have pretty much a sports membership. What other clubs call a sports membership, which is typically a higher cost membership. And at Edison Reserve, you're either a sports member or a golf member. At Woodfield, you're a sports member or a golf member. So we're really doing something to put us in line with what other people do. And we have people that come in here that aren't really golfers. I can see one sitting right over there who would love to be able to play 6 times in season and 12 times out of season. So I think we're enriching what we're offering to the social member with this program.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else, Dr. Cup?
Yeah, that's, explain further the 6 times. Does that mean one member of the family gets to play? So 6 times you can play?
If you play with your wife, you can play together 6 times.
Really?
If you play separate of your wife, she can play 6 times, you can play 6 times. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
6 times. If you play with Mrs., you can play together 6 times. We don't believe in giving the ship away, even though we're trying to make sure that people decide golfers want to be golfers. First,
Thank you.
thank you.
I've listened to this all very carefully. A couple of things come to my mind. Number one, what incentive is there to keep the golf costs from going up dramatically? Because right now you're going to have a cap on this if this passes. And if we're talking about 4% a year increase in our expenses, then shouldn't the golf also have a built-in increase in it? Otherwise, you're going to have a problem here. You're asking for a consent vote, and with consent vote, until we are able to do this again, if we ever do it again, we're stuck. Everyone is stuck with that $8,000 a year, which may not be realistic.
Well, certainly we're asking for a commitment from the whole membership to understand that in 5 years down the road, we're going to have a critical problem and that we have to have a solution. This is the best solution that we came up with that we think makes sense for everybody. There is still certain accountability on what the annual percentage increases in costs are to the operations of the club. Certainly that is an operations program, and the board program, and my program that we have to operate effectively. We believe that this is the best laid plan. We don't think we will have to come back for another vote on this anytime in the near future, but we do think it's really important to get this passed.
Do you know of another club that has capped the golf dues in the bylaws?
Yes, the only other club that I know of that's done this program is Via Meisner, who's getting ready to open a brand new club. And obviously they're a developer-owned club that has capped the membership at $8,000 also. So that is a sales program that they're using. Who knows what they'll decide to do later on once they fill the membership. But we looked at it for a lengthy period of time. We've done all the evaluation, and we really think that this is the best way to go. We understand that if golf membership goes down to the so-called 100, that this is going to be an extremely rich program for the social member. It's going to cost a lot of money. We all have to make sure that doesn't happen. And we have to make sure that we can sell homes as fast as anybody else out there on the market. That's really the critical point. We have an older membership. We have a lot of transition. Right now we have 56 homes on the market. But a lot of clubs have that same problem right now. All of a sudden, the first quarter of the year came out around 10% worse than last year. But we're going to get out of that. And we're in a position to do that because of the amenity program that we have and what we're doing to make the changes that are necessary for future members to want to be here.
I think if the social dues become too rich, that's going to impede people from buying in this community.
I think there's a good mix here, and I really think that in general, this is competitive. Yeah.
No, I came in a little late and I missed a lot of the presentation. Thank you. I came in a little late and I missed a lot of the presentation, so I'm sorry I don't have all the information. But part of my reason for coming in was, at what point do we stop going back to membership for more money, more money, more money? You know, we've just approved a $400 increase for the Wellness Center. At this particular point in time, I find it unbelievable that we're talking about an additional increase, more money,
And when you look at the expense reports, or when you look at people coming in to buy a home in this community, the first thing they look at is, they look at the expense sheet. And it's, you know, I'm here 6 years, I believe, 7 years, and it's done nothing but go up and up and up and up every single year. Like, at what point do you stop?
Sure, I don't disagree with your challenge to make sure that we can control our expenses, but you know, all the clubs are going up. We're not the only clubs in Boca that are going up. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about sustainability. If we as operators, and myself have been hired to do this, and we sit with the board and we look in the crystal ball and say, we're going to have trouble. We owe it to you, the members, to come up with a solution for that problem. We said originally it was one membership. They've been talking about one membership for 15 years at this club. I will guarantee you that if 15 years ago this was a one membership club, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But it's not, okay? And it's very difficult to transition where we are today to go into a one membership program that will change the way we sell property. We don't want to mess around with this. This is an important, viable program that we have set up that will help bring our community through the future of the challenges we have with the declining golf membership.
But we've spent so much money in a short period of time, it has already created a problem for this club.
Sure it has.
Okay, it's not the future that's going to be the problem. Okay, the future is today. The problem is today. Okay, we have 56 homes. We've never had 56 homes for sale in this community. Okay, and
maybe we haven't, but okay. And that's the market, certainly. You know, other clubs are dealing with the same feelings.
You know, you said something about reducing the initiation fees for coming in, and I didn't catch that, but you know, when I joined and I paid my $70,000, I was going to get I'm getting a 45% return when I leave the club. Today, that's all disappeared. You're getting a 60% return on $15,000. And where has the money gone? Why has it?
It must have happened before me. I don't know.
Where has the money gone? At what point in time, and maybe I'm speaking too much, but at a certain point in time, you sort of have to say, can we slow down on this process a little bit? Can we take 2-3 years before we start to implement something like this?
We don't believe so. That's the board of directors and myself. We don't believe. If we believed that, we would have presented to you, because this is not fun. This is not fun, the amount of hours we put in and to try to get members to vote and sign a consent form. It's not an easy process for anybody. We would not have presented it if we didn't think that this was an important thing for the future of the club. That's where we're at.
The reality to it is, today, you have 290 people.
That's correct.
Paying for golf membership.
Yeah.
Same as 15 years ago.
22.
Because of the outside members.
Correct.
And therefore, you don't have a problem today.
We don't have a problem today. You're correct.
It's only a question of how you decide to allocate, and you're changing the allocation as this way you said up front. All inflation is being taken care of now by the social members. Let me give you some numbers, because I ran the numbers. Both the Grove, social cost $26,816, including all the improvements that we have in there. Addison Reserve, double the size, about the same, $26,600. Stonebridge, same size as we, $24,003. Broken Sound, big, $24,000. Woodfield, big club, $22,000. Meisner, our size, $21,000. Boca West, huge, $19,000. Polo, 1,800 members, $18,000. We're already huge on the social program.
I'm not sure if all your numbers are 100%.
I gave them to you.
But
They're on record with you.
But I will tell you, we certainly can't compete with the larger volume clubs. We're a small volume club, and I think that's why you came here, because we're small.
You're the highest small club. And I pointed out the numbers in error in your cost competitive matrix to you in November. It's real. It's real. In the end, if you got to sell 60% of your memberships are social and rising, I have a real concern about pricing ourselves out of the market. Because it's not 400 the first year, it's 400 in the second year, it's 800, the next year it's 1,200. There's a compounding factor on that number that goes up.
So how would you handle the challenge that we have then?
What I would do with it is
Close the golf course?
I would commit to the outside membership program. I know people don't like it, but they also don't want to pay for it.
I don't think we'll get a vote on that.
Well, you know what?
I think it'll be a very difficult vote.
Well, if people don't want outside members, they should basically buckle up and pay the fees without trying to figure out how to transfer them off onto other people. They're either going to transfer it off to social members, or they want to transfer it off to outside members, but they don't want to pay the fees, but they do want to be exclusive. It's, again, two sides of a knife, but you can divide that number by 290, and it's not a real problem today. It's not clear it's a problem tomorrow. It's not clear it's a problem the next day. Because since we put that program in, we've got the same population of golf we had 15 years ago before this fear thing started. We just started the program late. But where we are with it today is we're still at 290. And our social costs are the highest. And I gave you the errors back in November that were on that competitive matrix. So please think about that.
Fine. Assuming this program passes, can you explain exactly how?
Can't hear.
When you start
Assume this program passes, can you explain exactly how, when we sell our home, and we're a present golf member now, or present social member, how that translates to the sale? Are we, for instance, are we compelled to sell to one membership only? What would the fees be, etc.? So we understand.
So everybody in this room has a program that they bought into with refundability, whether they're a golf member or a social member. Those programs do not change. There's nothing within these documents that creates a change in that process. So if you are a golf member and you sell to a social member, you only get your equity back, whatever deal you made when you first got here, you only get your equity back in your golf membership and you have on your social membership, and you have to wait on the list to be refunded your golf membership. That is a difficult process. With the way we're selling homes today, and how much refundability that really is, it's not a lot of money. You know, in comparison to the big picture. If you're going to put $20,000 in the bank and hold it, and you don't get it yet, I don't think that's going to change your mind or whether you should sell to a golf member or not. What we're trying to do with this program is to try to enhance the golf program so that people coming in understand that it's stabilized. Because right now it's not. Right now there's a threat that if it continues with the trend, it will get worse and worse and escalate way beyond, and we won't sell any golf memberships. That is an issue for the club. It really is. No matter what everybody thinks, I guarantee you that's a huge issue. So if this goes through, and we are able to market golf now, and we can sell the golf memberships, when you sell your home, you'll get all your equity back. Because you'll be selling to a golf member.
Okay, if you're selling to the so-called golf member, and it's entirely just a membership, and they ask you, as attorney, whoever asks you, what would be, if it were next year, what would be the fee, the initiation fee approximately that he would pay, and what would you quote him as the ongoing social and golf fees?
So
the year.
currently the fee is $70,000 or $75,000, or $60,000 goes to equity, right? Capital. To capital, I'm sorry. and the remaining 15 or 10 goes to equity, and the refundability is based on that. Correct? 1/3, right?
Doesn't change, just.
Doesn't change. Doesn't
Your
change.
students still have two classes of membership. You have social and you have a golf. So they do still have to go to Kathy, fill out an application to either be a social member or a golf member. And as Michael said, we pay the joining fees, what currently now, golf is 75 and social
Social is
7. That all stays the same. Nothing changes. The only thing we're looking at here is operating expenses and how we handle them.
Any last questions? We're going to wrap this up. We have another meeting next Thursday where we'll do this again. And I've scheduled a meeting Sunday the 14th because I got a lot of emails from people that were disappointed that I had the meeting at 4 o'clock today and I have the meeting at 5 o'clock next Thursday. So we'll have a Sunday meeting in April 25th. So yes.
One administrative question. You started the consent ballot today, so it lasts
90 days.
90 days, right?
90 days.
And what is the implementation after, if you say it's approved, by 2/3 vote?
Implementation after it's approved, we file to the state, and everything begins once it's filed at the state level.
Nothing will change until we calculate dues for 2020.
Okay.
Nothing will change for 2019 dues.
Right. Okay? Thank you very much for attending, I appreciate it.